FM enthusiasts. This is another springy, erudite, attention undivided session where we interview masters of the craft in a very serious way. And we have masters of the craft. One of the great releases of this year, a group called all caps, guests are all caps now, UDABABY, which is Joshua Virtue and Davis, the Dorchester Bully.
What up? What up?
It's and Davis is like is kind of like Ungbach, right? I'm just like you put on Davis, and I'm just like, oh, we hit him again, oh, right? Like it's just it's amazing. The Nike versus Adidas thing with Rich Jones, unbelievable.
Food as well. Yeah, the food killed that shit. Yes.
No, it was so, but Josh Virtue is really the kind of X factor behind the Y Records. Like you part of Free Snacks with is that Ruby? Is that Ruby?
Yeah, that's Ruby.
Mm-hmm. Ruby Watson, and like you seem to be the connective tissue between all these universes.
Yeah, I get around. You know.
That's awesome. So I'm on a Discord chat with some wonderful people. Blood Money Perez is one of them. I told him, I told him I was sitting down with you too, and he said he loves the record. He said it's great, and he said this is the kind of music that we used to play at house parties.
Shit, you know what happened to that? Like you couldn't possibly, like I don't know.
Nowadays,
Yeah, I really
going for that.
Yeah, I really wish that I could like play some of my own music somewhere and like not like instantly like kill the mood, you know?
Maybe where it's like you scaring the hoes.
Yeah, no, that shit. Yeah. We're not for.
Do we make scaring the hoes music? Is that what it is? Yeah, we make scaring. Yeah,
I mean, you know, I was so happy that he said that because I was like, this isn't because I feel like that genre's kind of been eliminated. Like. Now it's like club music or it's this kind of scary, spooky, haunted house ambiance underground stuff.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's been eliminated so much as it's just been like repositioned, you know? It's just that shit you would play at a party now, you know?
That's real.
But like certainly like it's you know, I don't know, like fucking hella people in like our, you know, like generation. Like I mean, we're weird, you know, we make weird fucking shit. People like weird music still, never went away, you know?
Yeah. No, it's like I don't know, when I think of like house party music like he's talking about, because Blood Money said they're really saying shit, but there's a real groove to it that you can enjoy as well. And
Blood Money Perez like dance to my shit, like honestly. You move like that for me? Like that's crazy. I don't know.
But no, I think like I thought of Far Side of like there's like real shit being discussed, but you can just have fun to it as well, or you can dip in and out of knowing the shit, you know, like and this album is really interesting because it's deep as shit. There's some serious shit discussed, but it's fun as shit. And as much as the systemic violence that the police administer is a part of this record, so is ass.
Yeah.
It's all ass for real.
It's a whole lot of ass.
With every line not about ass, there's like mad like ass subtext involved, you know? Like just secret crack and hole everywhere. Yep.
There's like smack like ass meat, and there's obviously the legendary the eating ass in a monastery. That was checked in my
Thank you. I'm still not entirely sure why like that line has been like grabbed onto, like
because it's colossal. It's
we did our mid-year show, and I had this whole thing about like the Jasmine Sullivan album Hotels, and I was like, you know what? I'm happy. Everybody should be able to make their sex identity record, exploring their sex however the fuck they want, whether it's Hotels or whether you're eating ass in a monastery. Like Josh Virtue, It's pretty
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, it's all the same shit, you know. I mean,
Whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
but it's a standout thing, and you've got a bunch of them here. It feels like from the outside, when you two link up, that there's kind of an opening line of the verse competition that happens a little bit.
I guess that's kind of true, you know. I mean, like, I never really thought about it like that, but I mean, I would definitely say that I feel like I bring out like my hottest shit when me and Davis end up linking. But like, I mean, that's the weird. I mean, it's kind of like that though, because like, I mean, we made this whole record when we lived together. You know, we were like roommates at the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of just like, it didn't really feel, honestly, like, I mean, like, it just never really felt like competition between us. You know, we kind of just like, we feed off each other. I feel like we're more like, we definitely like generate like a different kind of output in one another, I would say. But
symbiotic relationship.
yeah, you know, like it's not a fight like at all, honestly. It's
No. I think a great roommate kind of irritates you in the best way.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I started rapping, because this motherfucker irritated me enough. I'm like, yo, hop on this, hop on this, hop on this. Yeah. Wore me
My
down.
best roommate, it was like he was a party guy with a lot of charisma, and I was like a stay-at-home, watch old movies person.
Opposite.
He would take me out, and I would show him old movies, and that was the kind of vibe, and that like irritating each other in the best ways, and that is definitely present on the UDABABY LP. There's a connection between you two that I think is really interesting. I kind of call it the technician and the X factor, right? Basically this starts with something like UGK, right? Where like Bun B is the technician, but Pimp, you can't walk away without remembering what Pimp said. And that's kind of the vibe to me between here. And it's the same with like Vast Air and Vort Omega, right? Vort Omega as the technician, Vast as like the charging in voice with the ill perspective. That's how I feel about the record and how it functions as a duo. Am I overthinking this, or is this real?
No, I mean, I don't know how I feel about comparing myself to guys like that, but like, yeah.
Like structurally, like I would agree. Yeah, there's definitely
I'm not trying to say like,
you know, because that's why because you have those two factors working in tandem with one another, as opposed to two things of the same, you know. If that makes any sense, like two factors, two technicians,
right?
One of each.
It just gets muddled like that, or just kind of not forgettable, but like there definitely has to be like a I don't want to say dichotomy, but just like a balance, you know. It's like a pH thing, you know, like one acid, one base, you know, and then you neutralize the shit. So it's like, I feel like, I mean, even like early on in our shit, we would like think about, I mean, you know, like duos and shit, you know, like we were both like obviously like, you know, huge Outkast fans. And I remember he mentioned at one point, like, you know, they had like the whole thing, like Dre and fucking Big Boy would like walk around their like kitchen tables, just like spin fucking like verses and shit to it, or like with these like, you know, like and we have like, you know, we were more just kind of like sit on the floor and like drink Heineken, like Miller, High Life, all day, so like, and that was awesome. It was that was definitely like a weird time, you know, but like as far as like, you know, just being like young and like almost living in it wasn't exactly a punk house, but it was like,
it was essentially a punk house.
It was pretty dirty, you know, but
it was a punk house.
It kind of was, you know. It was, but like, you know, still like just generating like that kind of energy, you know. It was really, I don't know, that was like a special place, you know. Like we did that whole shit just like in my room, like like fucking whatever the fuck, you know.
In the closet.
Yeah, in the closet. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, and yeah, no, but the house party thing was really good because the UDABABY LP doesn't sound anything like your instrumental project from earlier in the year. It sounds very different.
Yeah, completely different times in my like productive like history, honestly.
Exactly.
Because Moon is like the freshest shit I've like, even like, I mean, like I have like other shit that like will come out, you
Right.
know, that's like maybe not quite ready, but like for more all intents and purposes, like finished. And like Moon is newer than like almost anything that I have, like even like
Right.
ready to go right now,
And
you know. So that was like an in the moment
And
shit.
we finished all the recording for the UDABABY, what, like 2019? Like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
like that, yeah.
2019,
Uh-huh.
early 2019 too. We have been sitting on it for a hot second because
Wow.
we was trying to get different takes for a lot of them, but that shit kind of fell through for many reasons.
Yeah.
And then obviously COVID hit, you know,
Right.
and it was just really hard to link, especially early on during COVID and shit.
Mhm.
You know, leading to each other's different lives respectively. And eventually we was just like, you know, fuck it. Like, these early takes is worth it. Like,
Yeah.
they're good enough.
You know what it was too, was like, we thought we had lost all the takes too.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
because I had I just like wiped a bunch of shit off my computer, and like I can't even remember what it was. Like I guess like I thought that like I had set the shit to like Ruby at some point, you know, because like back in the day he was gonna like master it or like mix and master it. He didn't end up doing that, but like back then, you know. So, but that, you know, all that was time passed, you know, and then like I know where the fuck anything was, and I had like, you know, I just kind of like recovered a hard drive that just like I didn't know where the fuck it had been for a long time.
I love that.
I just kind of found it. I was like, oh shit, and I looked on the hard drive, and all like the rough takes are on the hard drive. So I was just like, we can like actually put this out. But he kind of had to like convince me though. Like I honestly like didn't really.
He didn't want to put it out. I mean, for good reasons. I mean, just, for reasonable reasons is what I consider that.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was just old shit.
It felt old as fuck to me. Yeah. Like, I just felt like I wasn't, you know, but like, you know, I mean,
lifetime.
Yeah. The more like time I spent with it though, because like I ended up mixing it myself and like just, you know, realizing that like, I feel like it's weird because like we made the album back then, but we couldn't have finished it until like right now. Like I didn't really have like the like, no, I think just like the patience, really, you know, like because like as you grow as an artist, like you build patience for like wanting to make shit sound like beautiful and different, because that's everything you do like right the fuck out the gate with like whatever you got, like that's almost like a bass sound, and the more you like push it and tweak it, push it, that's how you start coming out with these like very specific sounds and moments and like bits that like hold the whole shit together, you know. So as the artist that I am now, to like have like found that shit and been like, all right, so I was fucking that up. Yup, this can sound dope like this, and all of a sudden it just was there. And I mean, once I started really getting back into it, you know, I realized like, yeah, okay, this is an excellent record, and like it needs to come out. So
yeah, no, there is like that center, and you can just tweak it and change. And if you change the little details, it's all different.
Right.
That's awesome. No,
good
to hear. No, I think it's a really great follow-up to the EP, right? Like the EP had it still existed in this space like of like mid-tempo groove stuff. And this album really kind of kicks up a notch and from that one, and I think it's a perfect cover for that, right? It's brighter. And it gives you that sense like we're opening up this world. It's great. I was going to ask you, it's very interesting to me, how important is Baldwin Baby to the album? When did that jump in there? When did that become a part of it?
You can answer that.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I think it was never really like, it wasn't really something that was like thought about, you know. It was just like, I mean, the way that we would always do it was we would just kind of, it's kind of like when you're like getting ready to go somewhere, and like if you like throw a bunch of clothes in a pile, you know, and then like you pick up things that you like and shit, like, so that's like, I mean, we always, I think the difference with like a UDABABY album would be like, you know, you throw all the clothes in the pile, but you wear the whole pile, but you know, you're throwing the shit in the pile regardless. And I mean, yeah, there was a point where I feel like we were putting it together, and like it was some point where we're just like, yeah, like it'd be good to have like an intermission somewhere, you know. And I just kind of happen to have like, you know, I'll have a beat and I'll like record like just, you know, from like wherever the fuck, like just get like someone like speaking over it, and I have like a lot of that shit, you know. That's just like, sometimes that's just what I'm doing, you know. But I kind of just like grabbed one of those and I was just like, hey, yeah, I think this would work here. And, you know, he's kind of like the maestro when it comes to like order and stuff and track listing, you know?
That's
So
awesome.
he actually like put together, I believe you put together the whole track list.
Yeah,
you know?
it was quick too. I mean, cause like, you got to think about it too, though. Like, I've been listening to this shit for a minute, you know, like just all the single tracks. So like, I had already had a certain level of comfortability with like what they sounded like, what they felt like. So I figured, I don't know. I figured I put it together well. But yeah, I just remember the thing I remember most about Baldwin Baby. You came to me, you were like, "How does this work?" And I heard it. I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's fucking perfect." Like that was it. Like it wasn't really any second guessing and shit.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about this one. Like, yeah, there wasn't like much like, you know, I've always wanted to be like a Mad Lib type nigga, where it's just like, yeah, we didn't really think about it. We just there's no process, man. I mean, there was a process, but like, you know, I'm like always striving to reach that, you know. So I think it's cool because like we both can like shine in different like regards as far as that goes, you know, like
because Madlib's process is just like in his instincts at this point. He's done so much work. Yeah. It's in his instincts. He can just do it. Yeah.
Part of him, you know.
Right.
But it's cool like when you work as you know, because like even with like that new Mad Lib that came out, you know what I mean? Like Fortet, right? Yeah. Fortet was the one who like, you know,
put the shit together.
Curated, So like to have like, you know, having like made those beats and stuff and having like Davis curate those songs is like, I think, you know, it would have been a completely different album like if I decided to order. There's even some that I was looking at where I was just like, what? That? And I was like, oh yeah, that, okay. You know, so.
and you can tell there isn't like, it's not like you brought in a bunch of features. The Foot Clan is there. Yeah. But it's not, this album still is about the relationship between you two and growing that throughout the record. So I think it's good. I think people either kind of have too many features or too little a lot of times.
I can understand that. Yeah.
I mean, we definitely like kind of keep it in house, you know. Like, I mean, there's Foot Clan and there's Giovanni's on there, and like
that's a good friend of ours. She also lived with us. At the time too. Mm-hmm. So like, we all met. Well, I met Alex through this shitty ass job we used to work at. But majority of the people that was living at that crib, we met at the college we went to. Yeah. So and we all became friends there.
Yeah, we were like writing department and shit, you know, and then. You know, fucking just obviously like met like, you know, Ruby and Malky just playing shows and shit and just being really into rap, you know. So like those are just like, I mean, those are like our friends before anything, you know. So I feel like 9 times out of 10, like those are really the features we have. I mean, like, you know, he just put out the song with Rich, you know, but like Rich is like our homie.
Rich is like the homie.
Rich often.
It's like an older brother type shit.
You know.
Yeah. Right. It's all family, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Honestly. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's I had a Giovanni question because she name checks you within the piece that she reads. She wrote this for this. This is interesting. She must have been just in the circle at the time you guys were doing this. Yeah.
Actually, what happened was I remember because we was in the motherfucker, we was in his room recording shit. She came in hyped. She was like, I wrote something for y'all, and I'm like, okay,
awesome.
Cool. And then she read it out. I'm like, well, we should record this and put it in, like, because she's gotten more comfortable now, but she was very weary, like I was in the beginning of being on the mic. Just the confidence issue, I'm sure, but like, you know, because she's on my album as well, on GPS, and she killed her shit. She also on Ruby album.
You know, Carry Me,
Yep, and she killed that shit too. Yeah, it's
yeah. And that was a weird one too, because like she recorded that shit. And then afterwards, like I created like I made the music behind it, you know, which was really cool to like make something to someone's voice, you know, which is something I tend to do. But I think that's, you know, and particularly with like Gio, because like Gio has a way of like, you know, flowing where she can like land anywhere and it like makes sense, you know, like it's definitely like what we fuck with though, you know, like this nigga's the same way basically, like in and out the pocket, like, you know, intentionally so, like it's just a beautiful thing to be, you know, like you create your own pocket. And I've always admired the musicians and lyricists on that tip, even though I'm like, I try and stay in the lines more, but like I really admire that out of other artists, you know. Like,
I'm with you. I'm always seeking out people who do the opposite of what I do really well.
Right.
so that I can have them in my circle and be like, all right, now you tell me if this sucks, or whatever. Or
Like,
like,
shit, no,
Yeah.
that's exactly it though. Like,
We
yeah.
would be on that too.
Yeah,
Like, more or
I mean,
less.
you gotta have them. You gotta have a conversation. You can't have no yes men around you. And
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw how the big day turned out. Shit. Fuck.
Why you gotta do that to him?
I mean, he did that to himself.
That man loves his wife.
He did that to himself.
No,
And then tried to sue Pat because his goof ass ain't
What
listen.
happened?
Anyway, yeah, he tried to sue Pat.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Because Pat sued him because he wasn't. Anyway,
I
we're
didn't know
not
there was-
talking about Chance. We're here to talk about us. Anyway.
that's fair. But we can talk Chicago because I think this has been a great year for Chicago hip hop.
Most
A Big Silky, Def C, Solar Fives coming. There's just a lot of ill shit coming out of Chicago. And honestly, Detroit as well, right? To broaden it out to the Midwest and all that. So it just seems like it's really important. It's all, like the league sucks when Chicago isn't doing well, right?
Yeah.
I feel that though.
No, yeah, it's I mean, I don't know. I feel like Chicago is kind of like in this like continuous renaissance, it never really seems to stop. It just like evolves. And
Constantly growing.
like with
Expounding.
yeah. With like COVID too, like it's kind of like that post-COVID vomit is happening now where like everyone's shit is just like big bang spiraling out, So like it's pretty cool to see that, especially because like I love like niggas who like made they shit like in COVID, just being like, I got this fucking this is what I was doing, and like seeing that is like pretty beautiful,
Yeah, no, I mean, does it feel different than the last few years, or is this just how Chicago feels all the time musically? Like that there's just everything available.
I'd say a bit of both, to be completely honest. Like I feel like there's always been. I'm not even hip to like half of the shit that's coming out, to be completely honest.
Right.
Like I'm catching strays every once in a while, but I mean, there's always this innate grind that just comes with being in Chicago, being a Chicagoan myself. Even with the implants, honestly, because like every motherfucker that rap here, not from here, but they have that. If you've been here for a while, you can understand the level of work that is consistently being put into the scene, and contributing to that is a necessary factor, and it shows.
Yeah, no, when I got a chance to talk to Def C, I asked him what the biggest misconception about Chicago is. And he said, what people don't understand is that every form of music you love is being done in Chicago at a very high level.
Yes.
And no matter what corner of what you like, it's in Chicago being done very well.
You can look at like soul jazz shit. You got Cordoba for that. You can look at the punk scene here. You can look at Side Action for that. Like it's all over the place. Like you can look at us obviously for the hip hop as many others. It's like Alex said or Joshua said. I should say it's a renaissance. Yeah, truly.
That's awesome. No, it's wild to have that much going on.
That's why I'm like, I can't really even keep up half the time. Like it's always like every day, every week is somebody that or even peripherally know is dropping some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
a good problem to have. Yeah.
So in terms of the production philosophy for this LP, because it seems like it changed, right? You made it in 2019, you revisited it and kind of updated it. When you were re-listening to it and venturing in, how did you kind of revise the mission statement of the sound and say, I think this makes sense now? What were you aiming for?
Honestly, like, I mean, I feel like anyone who listens to our shit is like, it kind of goes without saying, you know what I'm saying? But like, I definitely take like, I take a lot of like influence from like, I mean, we're all kind of taking, New York's been on some shit, you know what I'm saying, for like a minute now, or like even like East Coast, so like that whole outfit, like just to hear like the little shit, you know, the little tweaks here and there, you know, and like having like listened to so much more music like since I made that album, and like really, you know, over COVID to have like really like carefully listened to music now, because you got like the you don't have as much like external, like, you know, yeah, you know, like just I'm less distracted, so I can like hear it better, you know, just by myself. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like having heard like the shit coming out like backwards and shit right now, it's like, you know, just hearing like how meticulously, like, you know, there's like the smallest things, like, I mean, this is like an old, like, I mean, it's not like really old, but like thing like Paraffin, you know, like Arm and Hammer's Paraffin, like, like there's always been a line that like stuck out to me, is where he's like what's this, like fucking what is it, you know, show cold slowly close the airwave, I can't stay, you built it on Indian grave, and there's like that fucking echo off of that shit, you know, just off that you built it on Indian graves. And like that shit to me, like always, like, you know, I remember like I was talking to Ruby about this, where I was like, that line is so fucking good, but like that just like makes it, like it transforms the moment, you know? So I kept thinking like, how can I do that? Like, how can I like transform fucking moments in this, on this album, you know? And it was really cool. Like, I mean, Gas is kind of like my fucking, you know, the song Gas on the album is like my like baby for that, you know, because I was like, that was the one where I started to catch like, oh shit, like, yeah, you can do
you can add more, you can do, that's awesome.
And like, it was especially fun too, just like to be able to, particularly to play with your voice, like, because you know, it just, I mean, you fuck with people that you really fuck with, you know, and like I really fuck with like the quality of Davis's voice. So like to like distort that in certain ways and like see what the fuck I could do to like warp it and twist it and like what that like comes, it's just it's fun too, you know. It's also like fun to like just go back and like just, I think when you're like in the heat of like making beats and making songs like a lot, it's hard to like want to focus on the little things, because you want to, you know, you want to have a finished, just you want to finish the fucking song, move on.
You gotta get a good bass.
Right. So like to have like made that bass 2 years ago, and then now like back and like have the energy to just focus on tweaking and shit, like I think that was what really made the difference in terms of that.
Oh, that's a good point. You had the thing there, you could just alter it. You didn't, when you have to create it and then have the second leg of editing, it's a lot. So you were able to put it away and bring it back in. Yeah, I mean, Davis has like an unshakable flow, like almost a guru level, like, you know, but obviously there's more goofy shit in there than there was in Guru. So you're like, you're listening to straight ahead, and then you say ass meat? What is going, you know? That's great. But I can see wanting to just like, how can I challenge this flow a little bit? What can I do around this? That's kind of what Sterling Tolles did to Boldy James last year on that Manger on McNichols album.
I didn't even hear that.
Yeah.
Oh, is he? Yeah. I mean, it's Boldy.
No, it's Boldy.
It's Boldy, but Tolles took like 10 years putting it together, got jazz musicians who are like going through Detroit to add little parts over time, and it became this concoction, this, you know, so, but it was all about challenging the steady Boldy deal.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's awesome. And I feel like the album is, I'm all about runs in albums of songs.
Yeah,
right?
No, truly though. Truly.
That's the point. Like, like honestly.
So for me, it's about 4, 5, 6, right? We're talking about, you know, Tiger Woods, Capri Boys, you know, that's, you know, when we start to really hit this.
Yeah.
And then
the 2004 World Series of Dice, right? Yep. And, but wow, I mean that's to me the big run centerpiece of the project.
It's the highest energy, definitely, on the album, and going up, very strong momentum, and then just kind of crashes and leave. That's honestly how I wanted it to be when I was like sequencing it. It's like it kind of starts off, it's just kind of bubbling a little bit, takes you higher, and then just crashes completely in 2004, and then just simmer, and you left in the wake of what just came before you. At least that's how I had it in my mind. Obviously, like, it's like, where are we now? You know, with the last few songs after Baldwin Baby, because they definitely are more somber and they're more, I don't know.
I can see that.
Boisterous is the ones that came prior to it, but yeah, that was the mental image that I had with sequencing.
Yeah, and like I like that too. Where like at the end, there's like, you know, after shit's this was a coin star into like Mark Kane and fucking, but then like there's like this sort of like kind of, I love the song. I love Serious because like it literally, it feels like, I mean, I'm into tarot and shit, so like it's the star and it feels like the star like as a card, because the star is like right after the tower, everything crashes shit. But like, I don't know, it's just like picking back up somehow. Like there's like, I don't even know how to like describe, like
working with the pieces that you have like, after this cataclysmic event, somewhat.
Yeah, and like I feel like, you know, you were working on it. By Serious, it's like you got them to working now. Now the pieces are back together, and it's like shit is burning, you know. And then there's Vitruvian Man, where it's, you know, I don't know. I do enjoy like a sonic narrative and like how this is not like a story, but there's a story, you know. It's just non-linear, I guess, or you know, it's not really tangible, you know.
And I mean, it's the moods and the shifting of the moods, right? Because you go from Tiger Woods, which to me is you two like lyrically just locked in as you're gonna be, with crazy Hennessy and Arnold Palmer, like calling it Tiger Woods. Like who says that shit?
That's like, I drink that.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
They're good. No, I've had
it's a long song. It's serious fucking commentary about shit. And then like, Virtue comes in and goes off, and then so that really, it feels like, wow, this is serious. And then Capri Boys is a banger. That's fun as shit.
When he played me that beat for the first time, I lost my shit, because
I believe
it threw me. It reminded me, because he don't usually make beats like that to me, you know. And that was the first like just base level, like, oh shit, like what the fuck is this? And it reminded me of some like Just Blaze shit for some reason. I don't know why, but like that's what mine always goes back to that. Yeah. Yep. And it was like, yeah, we need this for the album. Yes, we need this.
Yeah. No, it's that, and that was listening to this album the first time when Capri Boy came on, and I was like, who is Josh Virtue as a producer?
Yeah.
Here's a signature. Most producers are like doing a thing. You know what I mean? I'm the sad violin guy, you know, or whatever. They have a thing, you know.
Ain't no thing, man.
And you're just fluid. You're just taking shapes and just doing whatever you do. But yeah, Capri Boy's the banger. World of Dice is like the most Screwface underground song. It's just beautiful.
First one we did.
That was the first one for that one of this whole.
I think it was the same week we put out the EP. We recorded that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. That's why he says fucking, what do you say? What was it? It was like one of like ad-libs at the beginning. Victory lap shit. That's
because we were still riding that high off the EP. Yeah.
That's awesome. No, it's and then so Baldwin Baby kind of clears the floor, because once Baldwin starts talking, everything stops.
Gotcha.
And I was gonna say about the Baldwin is like back when I was growing up, it was all Farrakhan samples.
Type shit, yeah.
It was all Farrakhan samples.
Yeah, you know,
all day.
It's just a little dated for me now.
I mean, totally fair. Fuck that nigga though. He killed Malcolm. He killed Malcolm, man.
Be careful.
Oh, what?
Come
at me with the burner, a burner in a bean pie. They gonna come at me? Yeah, that's what it is. That's a line right there.
Pause the whole interview. Oh shit.
I used to walk.
And it was weird because like I said, I live in Maine. I was ingesting all this rap music, and of course, everybody in Maine was terrified of Farrakhan. And I was like, I don't know, Chuck D likes him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man.
So, but now Baldwin has really absorbed the interlude space.
And that's actually a very like
even intro
pivotal.
Yeah.
That's like just, I mean, like I just listened to it already. You know what I'm saying? Like Farrakhan, Baldwin. You know, it's like that's the thing that I mean. Like, we still pro-black. We just saying we're not anti-gay now. You know what I'm saying? So like that's really. I think that's what that ultimately is. You know, like Baldwin kind of off. I mean, because I don't know. I feel like just, you know, queer black folk have like more of a voice now. You know what I'm saying?
Most
Like
definitely.
in particularly in the context of hip hop, not really much, you know, but like it's there at least, you know, like
more so than it was.
yeah. So
Right.
I think like I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's part of why we've gravitated to Baldwin, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just I only want to hear a voice from someone who like is kind of where I am in that space, you know, and like. But it depends though, you know what I'm saying? Because like there's also like Dick Gregory fucking samples on that shit, you know. So it's like, and I fuck with Dick Gregory, but like he says some shit sometimes. So I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, so it's like, you know, that's another thing too. And there's all the fucking, you know, Chappelle shit where it's like that was like a thing where like as far as like sampling and like who we like, you know, listen to and like pull shit from, like it was kind of just like it's not, a lot of time it was kind of these things that like felt like safe, you know what I mean? Like just felt like shit that we had kind of like either grown up around or like, you know, just really that had really like taken like hold of us while we were at school, you know. Like yeah, and just like also like it's really interesting to like find like in an interview or like just someone talking that you don't really agree with everything you're saying, but you find one thing and you take it out of context and it's like totally on point for your shit. Yeah, like, I love doing that, you know.
Yep. The show enough samples and whatever, you just
yeah. Yo, nah, and that's for like some of that like just young shit, you know what I mean? Like that same energy, you know.
I mean, I would argue the same for the Chappelle shit too.
Exactly. That's what I
like these guys ultimately into. I mean, UDABABY shit, you know, like that's UDABABY shit.
Young baby,
young nigga shit.
Word
you
up.
know, like shit that we had around us when we was young as young niggas, you know. Yeah.
I will say in the public sphere, I think people started thinking more about Baldwin when Ta-Nehisi Coates was continually giving love to Baldwin as an essayist and as a thinker, and people were like, "I got to check into this," and I think it just holds up.
Definitely. Because I got hit with the Baldwin. My great aunt, rest in peace, she was actually friends with him because she was a social activist and shit in Georgia, and yeah, no, they were good friends. They would like hang out and shit and smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, all that shit. But yeah, no, I've realized over the past few years, my family's been very peripheral to Black history. Like my granny, she used to bully Hurricane Carter. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah. I mean,
that is one of the most unique sentences in the history of interview segments.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. And I mean, fuck him now, but like my mama used to babysit Common too. Like he grew up on my block. Like like it's just that like I said, very peripheral to these obviously like staples in Black American history. You know.
Yeah, man. No, if you talk to the elders because they have wild stories like that. Yeah, there's people at my synagogue who saw Malcolm X debate. Like it's wild. But yeah, it's that's awesome, and it's glad to have that centerpiece. The other one that's a big part of this album, what it means, because we talked about you go Baldwin Baby, you go Coinstar Blues, you've got the Foot Clan track, and it kind of you're like feeling the energy again. And Mark of Cain grabs you by the lapels and says, "This is what this fucking means."
Yeah.
It's real,
It's a hell of a song.
Yeah, I don't know where to start with that. That shit. I think when we recorded that, I came in. I was on some different energy with that shit. Like I feel I really yeah. I mean with the chants and shit, you reap what you sow. And I mean with the chanting and non-seeing shit too. Spider God's God of storytelling, you know. Just trying to tell our narrative, I guess, you know, of where we are in this day and age.
Yeah. That was one of them type songs that like, I mean, we made that one like very, very quickly, you know, because like at the time, I feel like at the time like Davis didn't have as much like free time, you know, and like we were still just trying to get like a few more songs on shit, you know. So it was like every few weeks it'd be like, oh, let's just put one day, just record one song, you know. And that one, like I just remember like, you know, he came with that verse and I was like, I remember like just, you know, I feel like as a storyteller, And like as far as like narratives go, like your shit's like generally like not very, you know, linear or like not like thematic, you know, in a way generally. Like there's like an overall like mood and like imagery that like just bends together in a way that's not really quantifiable, you know. But like that's one of the few times which like you can't kind of came out of the gate and like you had a structure, and I was like, oh shit, this is like different, you know.
And I try to go against structure in general usually, but like that, yeah, no, it made sense to have.
Yeah. And it was like, for me, it was kind of like I was kind of just going off him, you know. So I just went through my phone, like, what would like make sense with that. So yeah, it just worked, you know. Yeah.
But that is cool. The collage philosophy of UDABABY, to be able to use pieces of everything fluidly and mix it up.
Oh yeah, that's the point. I mean, that's just hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just being a nigga. Like straight, like that's just not.
That's hip hop. That's jazz. That's
you pick up the broken shit, you put it together. You know what I'm saying? Like it's dope now. Like it's
awesome. That's a great point. Because there's some people who make very strict, structured concept albums, right? But like you said, a lot of it is just redirecting your energies in a fly ass way that's you know, and no one else can do it, you know.
And that ain't even to say that like the strict narrative or strict structure shit doesn't work. I mean, it's like you said, there's so many great albums that do that. I mean, you could look at fucking Prince of Thieves for one,
right?
You know, like like that's clearly, you know,
right.
But it just, for me personally, or for us personally, I should say, don't really want to do that.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that like what I've come to find, like even like looking at our like past body of work and shit, because like I'll be like, I'm like a Kanye West, like I will listen back to my own music like plenty, you know, like just like because like you get to like kind of understand yourself in like multiple, like I realized recently that like when you listen back to a past album, you're like listening to it from like 3 different places in time, you know. You're listening to it from like when you made it, you're listening to it from when it came out, and you're listening to it from where you are now, you know. So there's so much shit passes between them, so it's like, you know, you're kind of like, I mean, music a lot of time, like in fact this is like on some like fucking you know, they have like More Mother has that this black Afro what is it, Black Futurist, you know,
Encyclopedia of Black Air.
That's the album, but no, I mean like they have like a whole like, you know,
collective.
Like a whole like art collective. Like it's hard to even call it. It's not like it's like a think tank, you know. Like it's hard to even really call it like I mean, it is a collective, but like it's just, you know, they're like community outreach and shit. Like they're activists, like they're artists, like academically, like fucking, you know, they're doing like crazy shit. They're visionaries, you know. And just listening to their shit, like I realized that recently that you know, that like I could gain that from revisiting our shit. And the thing that I found like in our body of work that like, what were we talking about? Yeah, caught up in More Mother shit. Just like
going over the work, finding signatures within the work, and like listening to it from 3 different points of time, when it was done, when it was released, and now. That is a really interesting notion to have, to live in those 3 spaces.
Right. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, you know. It's just kind of keeps stacking on itself. I don't know.
That's really because when it comes out to us, we're just like, this is a great album. This is one of the great albums of this year, right? But we don't know the journey of
yeah, of course, no. You never gonna get the full story unless you lived it. You know?
Right.
There's lines like speaking to like, you know, like your past self is speaking to your future self, like in like every one of those songs. And like I'll go back and hear like, damn, like look at how that perspective has evolved, or like look at like, oh shit, I was right about that, you know. Right. But yeah, like it's wild.
No, you go.
No, you know, I feel like there's this kind of common trope in like Billy Woods' shit, even where he like is like kind of like just, oh shit, I'm kind of like I'm like predicting the future with my rhymes and shit, you know. That's ultimately like I think what we're doing a lot of the time, you know, because so much of the shit is just about like what's broken and what will break, you know. It's hard to get around that, you know. I feel like we're kind of just, a lot of the time we're sort of just like rapping through like ruins, you know. But yeah, I don't know.
Is that kind of what runs through all the dumb criticism of like criticism of wokeness, criticism of teaching racism in school? It all kind of has this dumb thing to it that is like, you guys are being so negative about where we are right now. When we're like, what are you talking about? Like, if you're not negative about it, you're just being an idiot. You're just pretending, right? Because it's not real. And you guys are basically having fun while understanding this destruction around you, right? Like,
ooh, yeah. And that reminds me, I remember what I was talking about, right?
Oh.
So, you know, that's what it is conceptually, you know what I mean? Like, there's not like a concept. We don't have like a concept, but once it's over, I found like we're listening back to our old shit is that like the concept teaches itself to you later, you know? Like, it decides itself, you know? You're not like really writing it. You're kind of just unearthing it, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's
you're
all
channeling
like,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're channeling it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that was the thing even with like Baldwin Baby, you know, like just of like the songs that are on there, like, you know, hearing it in context, just being like, man, like, fuck, this is something like intangible in this, you know, about just like the way of things in our experience and where it all intersects, you know. It's cool because that song's like in the very middle too, so it's just the middle point, like just this is really what this means, you know what I mean? Like we're gonna flex on it.
And I think to point here, like that's kind of what makes indie rap so clean and beautiful now. There's so many great records that are coming out of people who aren't signed, who aren't on a big label, don't have a big budget, but everybody's drilled into the details, really trying to get everything right. And so they come out better than some of the big releases.
You know,
I mean,
that's real.
That comes with just living in the grind, living in the shit. Like you want to put out. I mean, there's a lot that can go into what I just said. Essentially, what I'm saying is that when you pour, you're gonna do whatever the fuck you gotta do, and you're gonna do it right. You're gonna do it great because you really ain't got no motherfucking choice. Like when you got the money to spend X amount of dollars in a studio, producer, whatever, like, I mean, to go back to Chance, like niggas get lazy. Like to be completely honest, like they get comfortable. Like we don't live in a place of comfort, you know. Right. Like sure we have moments and pockets of comfort and fun, etc. Right. But like overarching, nah, shit is rough. Like you know, like and you want to do what you can and what you're capable of doing to the best of your abilities to try to get out of that. Like that's really all. Yeah, like yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's even like I mean, that's some shit in UDABABY, you know? Like even like with like the first, I mean, so we put out the EP, and when we made that EP, we were kind of still trying to figure out what the fuck we was doing, you know? Like we weren't entirely sure. That's why, like, I mean, like people like the song on that album called, or a song on that EP called Situated, and like, you know, people used to like that song a lot, but like we kind of just stopped playing it, you know? And like we stopped playing it live. We just, cause like it just was like, that's not like, we kind of realized what the fuck we was doing, and it's like
that ain't the energy we trying to
bring. Yeah, you know, like we kind of were like, this shit is like, you know, now in the new one you got like Casino talking about like, let's talk about aggression, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's like just we're upset, we're fucking angry, you know, this shit's fucking trash. And like I think that was the thing, because a lot of the time, like, you know, early on, I mean, like, you know, we kind of like, I mean, we started like really playing shows on like, you know, the like north side kind of like DIY scene and shit, you know. So hip-hop,
but we started
right
for hip-hop. We really started. I mean, my first show ever that I ever performed was with UDABABY, and it was at Punk House.
Yeah.
We played hella Punk Houses. Right. Punks fucked with us.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Rancho.
But, rest in peace, Rancho.
Yeah.
But fucking. No, like I think it was just like sometimes it was like, you know, we be playing shows in these like kind of predominantly white spaces though, you know. And I think kind of out of that came a sort of like just aggression and like kind of anger with that, you know, like, and yeah, I don't know. I guess it kind of felt weird sometimes. Like, I feel like for me personally, it kind of felt weird sometimes to have like people like, you know, these like critics and shit, like, or like writer, like reviewers or for like, you know, like just share the song like Situated, and it's just like, why you fucking pick that one? You know what I'm saying? Like
pick carriers.
No, it's not, you know, pick the fucking mean ass nasty one. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I wasn't like thinking of that at the time, but like I feel like that's kind of part of what happened. Like we don't want it to sound nice. We don't want it to be like smooth.
No, that's definitely, especially like to go back to them early shows and shit. Like whenever we perform Nautilus, like I'm eyeing down any cracker I see talking about the gentrification that you all have brought about. Like I'm dead. I'm looking you dead in the fucking face. Like because I'm talking about you.
He would like every show, Davis would pick a white person to like look at the whole time he did that verse. Like,
that's talking about you. Like fuck, like you're not exempt just because you paid some money or you came out. You know, you probably didn't even come out to see us. To be completely honest, like you probably was there to see some other shit. But you gonna get this. Like, shit, like that is what it is, and that's life.
Show.
Yeah. If that's all you get tonight in terms of facing like what your people have done, like you got off light. Honestly, like
yeah. No, it's fucked up. There's a lot of systemic shit that's going on that that is deep, and it's much deeper than fucking a lot of people understand. So I appreciate being able to bring that out and fully discuss the lineage of it and shit. People try and agree with songs too much. People want to find songs that they like totally co-sign, you know? But really you're looking for perspectives, you know? If you're white and you're listening to Mark of Cain, that's a fucking valuable perspective that you need as a part of growth, your growth. And yeah, I've always sat and listened to people talk and just been like, let me learn from what you're talking about. If it's real, you know, if it's intelligently conducted. So.
No, for sure. Like even like, you know, I mean, obviously like as far as like perspective, like there's a million bajillion different kinds of perspectives, you know, and there's a million different ways to look at the world, you know, like look at fucking, and I don't mean to like, you know, go forward with like from like an ism style shit, but like, you know, you're looking for like a racial perspective, fucking a class perspective, you know what I mean? Like fucking like gender, just like a bajillion fucking different like isms. Yeah, you know, and I think like a lot of the time, like that's kind of what hip hop aims to do, you know, is like like just highlight these perspectives, you know, and even like honestly, like even like within the context of Black culture, that shit is true because like you would have these like different cities and shit, like just being like, yo, what we do, like this is what it looks like here, you know, and like that was like communication, you know. Eventually, like that kind of ended up for the mainstream era, but you know, like back like OG, like that shit was like communication within the different like tribes and sectors of like hip hop and like the Black community, you know, like it's always been like this, like just a bunch of fucking spotlights beaming past each other and like catching your eye and shit, you know, like I don't know, most beautiful art form there is, and I think it catalogs the human experience better than, I mean, you know, I'm not. I like a lot of it. I don't want to say hip hop's better than every like, but it's just the best art form. Like it's hard to like, yeah. I mean, it's really
I've talked a lot about why that is and why rock kind of fell off or whatever. And I think I kind of like the theory that rock got too nice and everybody was happy with everybody else. Everybody was like, "You sound like Radiohead. That's great. I sound like Radiohead. Yeah, have fun." And like it was a bummer, right? Like
I love Radiohead though. Like, hold on.
That's great. But like I don't know. I lost a lot of good friends to Radiohead. They're just like they just locked themselves. They locked themselves in the basement with the fucking keyboard, and they were just like, "I want it fucking weird." I hate it. But anyway, hip hop criticizes itself incessantly.
Yeah, of course. That's true. Yeah.
Like you know, people going off on other trends and counter trending and being like, "Fuck that, I'm doing this." Right. It's the antagonism keeps it fresh in a way.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Like I feel like it's, I don't know. I get flack sometimes when I talk to certain people about this shit, but I'm like this shit needs to be mean. Like it truly does. Like I got into an argument or a conversation with somebody like a year or two ago when story of Adidon came out, and obviously we all know what came with that.
Pretty mean
what
stuff.
Pusha said. Somebody was like, no, he shouldn't have said this and that. I'm like, but that's what happens when you do a diss track. Like that is a diss track. Like you want to go for the fucking throat. Like, and that's what he did. Like that's hip hop beef at least.
I mean, in fact, that's battle rap. You know what I'm saying? That's not. Well, I mean,
yeah,
that wasn't like
battle rap, but like
that wasn't like that was beef though.
But that's because Drake is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, but, I don't know.
Drake trying to be on that holier than thou shit. He's like, nah, I can't even fuck with it. I mean, he did the same thing to Common when Common called the nigga Canada Dry. You know, like come on now. But like Pusha, who Pusha is, came to him fucking trying to put him on the Summer Jam screen and shit. Like Jay and Nas, like he came to him like how they was coming at each other, and Drake was not going.
Right.
Like
very interesting. Just thinking of that, like.
I mean, it was the story I had about like when you talk about rules of engagement, right? Yeah. I had a friend of mine. He had a messed up eye. Something happened to his eye. I was like, "What happened?" He says, "I got it. This drunk wouldn't leave us alone. Kept coming up to us, talking crazy shit." I was like, "Get out of here! Get out of here!" And he was like, "Fuck you, fuck you." And so I started fighting him. I duff him. He's in the snow. Boom. Right.
Right.
He gets back out of the snow and he wants to keep fighting, dumping him into the snow. And I'm like punching him, but reasoning with him. Like, leave us get out of here. And he gets up one time and just goes right in my eye. And like, this motherfucker cheap shot, man. I was like, I don't know, man. There's no rules. Like, it's no.
It ain't no.
Nobody signed anything. That dude's just crazy. Like,
you're in a fight with a drunk person. That's real.
And honestly, that's what would have happened. There was a whole bunch of stuff about like, what if Nas and Tupac like beefed and dissed directly? And I was like, well, Tupac's the guy with the eye. Like that's he's coming for the eye.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Beef is weird. Fucking just like that whole like side of shit, I don't know. I just don't like. I mean, I like everyone.
You don't necessarily have to participate in it to not understand.
No, but that's that's what I mean though. It's like if you're like gonna do that shit, like don't take that shit lightly. You know what I'm saying? Like I just feel like it's weird when, the whole like I feel like Drake and Pusha T was such a weirdly imbalanced type of like, like what the fuck y'all doing? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like Drake and Meek Mill, like that makes a little more sense. You know what I'm saying? But like I don't like.
And one of the problems, though, with these spaces is, and you see this nowadays because social media is so powerful, that these guys at the top, there's like, their following is unhealthy, right? So there's like J. Cole Daily, and it's like every day that whoever runs that wakes up and it's like J. Cole taught his third grade teacher how to play Monopoly. And his life changed. That's how cool J. Cole is. I'm like, right?
Yeah, like it's so weird. That's weird. That's very fucking weird. Yeah. Like, and it's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's hilarious. It's sad at the same time to me. Like, it's what like one person or it's multiple people. Because I mean, obviously, people are like, I gotta check my J. Cole daily. Like, or I gotta input on this. It's just that's nuts to me.
It's like and it's not even like being like a Doom fan or some shit, you know what I mean? Because like you can just like really fuck with an artist, but like
to dedicate time and
effort, just be like, this is my guy, like I'm gonna like just that's it, just that's everything they do, like it can't be bad. I mean, there's some like rappers where it's like, I'll say like their whole discography is dope, and people can disagree with me on that, you know what I mean? But it's not like it's not like a call to like righteous action for me. I'm not like pilgrimage.
Like a lot of J. Cole fans be on, honestly. Like you say some one random wild shit about J. Cole on Twitter,
they're coming for you. They're coming for you.
Literally.
And he's not the only one. This is like everybody's shit. So like when that was what was so cool about the Drake versus Pusha T thing was like, are they going to accept reality?
Right. Right.
The Drake fans, did they accept reality? How does that work for them? Like, this has got to be a hard moment because he's been impervious to everything so far. He's never lost. He's the best. Yeah. And now this is pretty clear. He's,
Yeah. You are hiding a child.
So yeah, that was.
Sometimes I feel like people who kind of like take that mindset, you know, I don't know, I don't want to keep like talking shit about it, but like, it's like, you know, I feel like sometimes there's like, it's just, it becomes more about the person than the actual body of work, you know, and like,
oh yeah,
you know, but like the body of work, like I don't think it's really appreciated in terms of like, you know, how it is like structurally and like the actual like quality of it to that person, but it's more that like the fact that this person put it out, that is the quality, you know? Right. So like there's no room for criticism like anywhere, you know. I just think that it's like kind of, you know,
it's idolatry.
Yeah, it's very limiting, I think. It's like those people who are just like, yo, like I love Disney, like fucking Disney's my whole shit, everything Disney. And it's just like
like no bullshit. Rewatched Dogma last night. So this made me think of like, scene in Dogma where they go to the movie shit and they, like the executive. It's like that though. Like you see this. It's a golden calf. Like these people see these artists as golden calves, and you can't say shit to them because that's their god in a way. Right. Like, no bullshit. Yeah.
And I made a 10 commandments of like cubicle life and how to survive cubicle life, and one of my commandments was that the work nemesis is a time eater. You create work nemesis when you don't have enough shit to do.
Yeah.
And you're bored. And like it's kind of this way for the hives. The hives are created because we're really bored and we're just gonna like dive all the way into like whatever Beyonce's doing or whatever tattoo Rihanna got removed or whatever. You know what I mean?
I feel like laziness goes into that too. Like not being willing to branch out and be like, okay, I fuck with this person. They fuck with this person that I fuck with fucks with X, Y, and Z, but I'm gonna just stick to this person right here because I'm comfortable with that. I don't want to go outside of that comfort zone. You know? Yeah.
I think that's really interesting too. That like that was something that I feel like I had to learn more because, well, I mean, I was never on like that level with anybody, obviously, but like fucking, you know, this guy's like he's like sort of like a more like musical encyclopedia. You know, he has like a lot of knowledge of stuff, and like I'm kind of more like. I just want to like make this shit and get out. I'm like, oh, I fuck with that. Oh, that's cool. So I'm like more kind of scatterbrained and spread over it. And that's like a thing that I think is actually like holds like a lot of more like underground artists back who are like kind of trying to be mainstream. You know, is that like they're kind of on that same like, you know, I fuck with like I want to be like that nigga. Like
but it's like what made that nigga that nigga?
Exactly. And like once you start like really like. You know, I mean, like I used to be like, fuck the history, I don't care about fucking, but like, man, like once you really start going into like the history of hip hop and like really understanding like the like just the scope of this tree, like this web that's fucking never ending, it's like, you know, you just, I don't know, you can approach the craft from like such a different, like a more effective angle, you know?
You hustling back with if you
I'm with
thing. I find, or one artist.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's just you hustling backwards with that shit. You can get really stale and stagnant very easily if you just But I mean,
on one end, you can like you lose an asset if you don't have the history, if you don't know the history.
Of course,
that you lose an asset. But on the other hand, I'm not dissing kids who don't care about the history. Because this whole thing was built on kids who didn't care about the history.
That's true though. No, that's true though. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
No, yeah, and even like when I first like started out making shit, like I didn't fucking give I don't know who fuck like so much shit was, you know. But I feel like at a certain point, like, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. People fuck with what they fuck with, and if you make dope music, you make dope music, regardless if you give a fuck about the history of hip hop. You know,
say, at the end of the day, who the fuck are we to say? Like, if you fuck with so and so, you fuck with so and so. Like, that's
no, but there's a greater conversation because we're talking about kind of responsibility around this thing, right? And this is a very important time to be engaged in hip hop because there's so much good hip hop out there. You need to be putting your energy in the right place, right? Like I keep telling people, do not hate listen anyone. Period. Don't do it.
Like, why would you spend the valuable time?
That's what I'm saying. Why create that negative energy for yourself? Like, it just don't make sense.
Just find the good shit and go there. Find the good shit and go there. Be doing that all the time. And be aware of yourself. Like, there are a lot of cats who follow Bandcamp and like really good paying artists. but then they look at their collection, and their collection is all white rappers. You know what I mean? That's a problem. That's a problem. You know, if you're a journalist and your albums of the year are all dudes, that's a problem. You know, you need to be aware that you're missing shit. I'm not guilting people on like not being socially aware. You're missing cool shit. Period.
Exactly.
And don't do that. Try to get as much as you can.
Yeah, honestly. I couldn't say anything else besides what you said. Like,
yeah,
that's
like,
perfect.
It's fucking massive wealth of shit, you know, like
it's so much shit. Yeah. And
that's like,
no, you good. Yeah.
No, like that's the coolest thing about music to me. Is that like it's just, well, I mean, yeah, in fact, I feel like as you know, again, like, because this guy's like kind of more like my like guru in terms of like just, you know, content and like shit to like fucking listen to and understand, like the fucking like the literal story of art, you know what I mean? Because that's ultimately what you're doing when you just like, you know, listen to shit or watch shit or read shit or like whatever the fuck is like art is its own story. It's like a mass that like continues to propagate itself, you know? So like, it's you like, if you're gonna like just throw into like one part of that, like you're missing like so much, you know? It's like choosing to only like look at one color, you know? Like there's so fucking much. Like,
right. I mean,
why not?
Yeah.
You know?
I remember being in a creative writing class and the teacher asked like, what do you guys think are the rules of writing? And I raised my hand first person. I was like, every piece has its own rules, but there are no rules that apply to all pieces.
I like that.
But that, nope. And they didn't fight me. They were like, "Oh, good. I'm glad that's out." You know, the way we can not pretend that everybody needs to do this or that. You know,
right? Exactly.
Crazy, but yeah, no, it's a great album full of textures, and Moon is a great album full of textures as well, and it seems to be it feels like a big part of your development as a producer. And where do you see it leading you? Where's the next step after Moon?
Oh man, that's actually a good question. Like, well, I mean, Moon is like a very specific project for me because it was something that I made. Like, I mean, I didn't like, you know, like when you're making music, sometimes you're making it for people. When you're putting a project together, even sometimes you're putting a project together. Like you're all, in fact, I've always been putting a project together for people. You know,
Jackie's house,
like you know, Jackie's house, or fucking anything was just like I want to communicate this to the world. You know, and that's if I'm putting a project. But I have like a bajillion songs though. You know, I have a bajillion just like tracks that I made, and Moon was like the first project that I put together like for myself. You know, and it's actually like, you know, it's kind of like there's not a lot, like there's not a lot of rap on it, you know, there's a little bit, but like it was very specifically like I was like, this is like a track of my development at this point in time in my life.
Timestamp.
All those songs got made around like the same time, you know, like within like a couple months of each other, you know. I think there's like one that was like I kind of pulled from like back where, but like it all got made very, very close together. And that's why. So I feel like as far as like the progression of like that like aspect of my like artistic self, I don't really know, you know, because like it's just kind of dependent on like where I am. But I definitely want to do a project like that again, you know, that just is like that's just like a think tank, you know. That's like my Wizard album. Like I was just tinkering with shit, you know, fucking around like how far can I push like just the sonic quality of this thing, you know. Like it's some shit you can't make unless you're like really bored for a while, you know, and like just focused on the self. And I don't know, it's hard to duplicate, but yeah, you know, there's gonna be shit coming out, but another like Moon-esque album I think probably wouldn't actually be released for a very long time, you know.
Right. No, I wasn't saying that there will be sequels or anything like that. I think that there are some albums that are like, you know, the masterpiece everyone's looking for, but there's a lot of albums that are like stepping stones that lead to great projects, right?
Yeah, shit you might not be looking for that you want, but shit that you need to be completely. I feel like does that speak to what you're saying? Like shit.
Yeah, like
It's
I'm
necessary.
not, I don't like approach this like a critic. I think of it more like a scout. Like I'm trying to like,
No, but for real though, yeah,
I like that.
I feel that.
I'm seeing that shit and I'm like, man, the shit after Moon is gonna slap. Like that shit is gonna be nasty. And that's, you can just tell when people are really evolving. And like you said, Moon is for you. It was something you did to grow yourself.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yeah, it was. It was like, I mean, I put it out, you know. I mean,
Yep.
I got to a point where I was like, I actually do want to show this, like, I want people to be able to hear this, you know. But yeah, it was definitely just like a very heartfelt, like, just exploration of, you know, self as it relates to the sonic whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been a very good Foot Clan year. Shredder would be
You're all
proud.
good years, damn it.
I was gonna say all 14 years are good years.
But thank you so much.
Yeah,
though.
we appreciate
No, the space in between is great.
Mhm.
I'm such a fan of the space in between.
Yeah,
And Ruby Watson is, he's just such a weird wonderkind of an individual.
yeah.
And the song about his cat is gripping. He can really make shit.
Rest in peace,
Yeah,
Louis.
he can make a big opera out of very small things. It's great.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's like, well, I mean, you know, we obviously like surround ourselves with people who push us, you know, and like Ruby's like, I mean, I consider Ruby to be a better producer than I am, you know, like he just fucking,
He just has something.
just has it, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
he's like, I got like 7-8 years on him, but he's like fucking, you know, teaches me shit like all the time, you know, like, it's amazing. Like,
Yeah, no, he's one of those like, one of those rookies averaging 15 points a game, and you're like,
Type shit. Yeah. And that's how I feel honestly about myself, to be honest. Because
we all feel like that about you though.
I ain't been
Like,
in the game for that long. I've only been rapping since 2018.
Yeah.
Like
anyone else, I'd be like, listen to this asshole. But like, I don't know, man. Like,
Yeah.
this motherfucker is an innovator. Like, I ain't never heard shit like that.
yeah,
And he came out the fucking gate like that too. You know what I'm saying? Like the first shit that he recorded, I was like, what are you doing? You can't, not supposed to be this good yet. No, like, it was, and he's consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's my favorite thing is that I think you told me once not long ago that you put like, no matter what, like you put all yourself into it, you know?
Of course,
like,
yeah. I mean, that's why it be taking me so long, honestly, to be coming out with shit, because like I try to put, and that's the issue with my work ethic in general, though. Like, I mean, it has its pros and cons. Obviously, I make good music. I think so. Shit.
right.
I mean, it can be wearing. You know, it can make you weary. You know, make me tired putting that much of myself into anything consistently. You know.
Yeah, some people can shift into a middle gear and just kind of give you enough, you know.
Yeah. But it's
that's not what you do.
Yeah, there's no middle ground. It's nothing or everything.
Yeah, I mean, you can listen to Garcia Vega Air Force Ones and just be like, wow, like isn't it like 5 songs or so? It's not like long,
Yeah.
but it's a lot.
That or Ebony Maw, because like I was gonna put out an album and all those songs, but like I couldn't find a way to fit them together, so I was like they'll just be companion pieces, because I put them out a week apart from each other. So like yeah, and obviously you got my older brother doing the end skit at the end of Ebony Maw,
the voicemail,
which morphs obviously into Garcia Vega Forces. All of that was inspired by him, to be completely honest. The picture, the forces, like he made them, obviously. And all the little snippets within that is from the voicemail that he sent me and shit. So like, yeah. I just couldn't find a way to get them as a whole, so I broke them up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's what I love about Y Records is kind of what I love about indie rap now. And basically, when I was in high school, it was platinum based. Everybody was like, I'm going platinum. Yeah. You know, and this era of indie rap is legacy based. It's, I don't have time to waste. Here's what the fuck you need to know about me.
Exactly.
It kind of is legacy based.
It is. It definitely is. Like, it definitely is. I mean, that's what came from GPS. You know, I mean, that's what that was the mindset for GPS. It's like, this is who I am. This is me. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Keep doing that. Oh, stay on course. That's all I can tell you. So I deeply appreciate you being here. Follow Y Records on Bandcamp. Follow Davis, Josh Virtue on
Virtue. They gotta type it just so they know how to search it. You know?
Yep. You get the link up because big things are coming. Good times. Yeah. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. This was
problem.
very informative.
Thank you, Lupita Nyong'o, for everything you do.